Snooze, you lose.
We're live.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's House Energy and Digital Infrastructure on April 1, and we're going to walk through S219, an act relating to an Energy Navigator program report. So I'm Rep. Kathleen James from Manchester.
Scott Campbell from St. Johnsbury.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2.
Chris Morrow, Wyndham, Windsor, Betty. Michael, Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Dara Torrey, Washington 2.
Graham Putner, Chittenden 13. Burlington.
All right, for the record.
Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm here today on S219 as passed by the Senate. This is an act relating to an Energy Navigator program report. It is just one session law section. Oh, there's a funding provision in section 2, but section 1 is a session law provision, and it is on a report. The Department of Public Service shall contract with a third-party consultant to design a Vermont community-based home energy navigator and coaching program in collaboration with the Climate Action Center of Addison County and other existing community-based energy navigator programs in Vermont. So I'll pause quickly. CAC of Addison County has an energy navigator program already. So the department is supposed to consult with them and other existing energy navigator programs in Vermont. I think at least one of the community action agencies has one as well. That will provide in-person and remote energy coaching services to residential consumers and communities statewide. So there are some of these programs that are more like the Addison County one is just in Addison County, and so this is having the Department of Public Service look at developing a statewide program based on some of these programs that already exist. The department's consultant shall build on findings from the department's comprehensive process and performance evaluation of more than 100 publicly funded energy programs focused on affordability, including electric and thermal efficiency, weatherization for customers with low income, and beneficial electrification initiatives to inform the design of a Vermont community-based home energy navigator and coaching program. So you should hear from the department, but they have already of their own initiative begun this comprehensive evaluation of existing energy programs in Vermont. And so on the Senate side, proposed that they add this to the work that they are already doing. And I believe that they have already issued, prior to this bill, they were in the process of issuing an RFP for a consultant. And so with this bill, they would tack on this specific energy navigator program design as part of that. So you should hear from the department about the work they're currently undertaking already. The department's consultant shall consult with Efficiency Vermont. I'm down on page 1, line 17. The Vermont State Energy Office, the Vermont Climate Action Office, Vermont's community action agencies, the Vermont Energy and Climate Action Network, Vermont's electric utilities, community-based home navigator and energy coaching programs, and other states, including Connecticut and Massachusetts, that have experience with community-based energy programs. On to page 2. For purposes of this section, residential consumers includes homeowners, landlords, and renters. So the proposal is that they report back on a proposed program design. And so the program shall, it should be, maybe we say the proposed program shall include these elements. Provide guidance to residential consumers, particularly those with low and moderate incomes, to better understand and navigate energy efficiency and clean energy investment options to affordably meet their home energy needs. Advise residential consumers on accessing available grants, rebates, financing, and other assistance programs and incentives to meet their home energy needs. Assist residential consumers in prioritizing identified energy saving opportunities, including through the integration of weatherization strategies to reduce heating and cooling loads that could minimize the need for installation of new equipment and lower future electric demands on the grid. help residential consumers connect with local contractors and review and analyze contractor recommendations regarding cost, payment, and other relevant factors. Advise residential consumers in person as necessary and over time, recognizing that hands-on coaching help may be needed at a consumer's home and over several years. On to page 3, the program shall provide recommendations for how the program would provide ongoing funding to support the operations of community-based energy coaching programs. And recommend any grant funds and private partnerships that may be available to support program implementation. On or before March 1st, 2027, the department shall submit a report on the program design to the House Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure and the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. The report shall include a description of the design of the program, which could include the creation of a pilot program or expansion and support of existing community-based programs, a description of the technical assistance and educational materials to be developed as part of the program, an estimate of program costs, funding sources to provide ongoing support to community-based energy coaching programs, a target number of residential consumers to be served by the program, energy and emission savings that will result from the program, and a proposed timeline for the implementation of the program. Section 2 is then a contingency of funding provision that the appropriations committees have been adding. So originally this bill did have an appropriation to the Department of Public Service. It did also have an appropriation directly to the CACs and C of Addison County to support their ongoing work. But the Senate Appropriations Committee replaced it with this language. The duty to hire a consultant as described in section 1 is contingent upon an appropriation of funds in fiscal year 2027 from the general fund to the department for that. The duty of the Department of Public Service to grant funding to the Climate Economy Action Center is contingent upon an appropriation of funds in fiscal year 2027 from the general fund to the department for that. So, and then the effective date is July 1, 2026. So, this is an interesting, this use of contingency funding language, I think, is all a little bit confusing, but you should hear from the department about the work they have already undergone. This bill would create a duty for them to hire consultants specific to this aspect of the report. And so without any funding for that, the duty to hire a consultant in that way is contingent on funding being appropriated, though so far that has not happened. But they may be continuing work regardless on the other part of their reporting that they've been undertaking themselves.
Okay, we're hearing from them tomorrow.
Do you know how much funding was for renegotiation?
It was $25,000 to the Department of Public Service for the consultant and $10,000 to the Climate Action Center.
Okay. All right. I don't have any questions on the walkthrough. So tomorrow anyway, we're hearing from the NRC, and I think that's going to be kind of specific to these existing programs. We are going to be hearing from the Climate Action Center of Addison County, and we're going to be hearing from the department. And I know that Efficiency Vermont wants to come in and testify as well. So I think we'll probably just start there. Right? Any questions for council? All right, Ellen, thank you so much. So-
Stay on 325 while you're here.
So before we go off live, just a couple of like look ahead. So we're done for the day. And then we're back tomorrow. And just a reminder that I'm actually glad we have time after the floor today to kind of prep for tomorrow, because one thing I want to do, and I would appreciate other folks doing this as well, is so that we can really be ready for our markup. We've got a lot of testimony from different folks to go through on S202 with suggested additions to the bill. And I want to make sure I'm ready for that and that I'm not the only one ready for that. So I'm glad we have time this afternoon to prep for 202 discussion and markup. Then 219, we've got just a quick little round of testimony tomorrow on that. And then on 202, we will have already marked up the bill, but we do have folks coming in to kind of talk about why they support 202. And I think they're going to bring a plug-in unit, which is kind of cool. And then Sarah Adams from ISO is coming in Friday to talk about the bill, but they've submitted written testimony. So that's it's up on our website. Let's all make sure we look at that for tomorrow. We have some little remaining scraps of testimony on S213, the water meter bill. But most importantly on CPACE, I've been listening to all the thoughts on CPACE. And so what I've been hearing from committee members about testimony, they still want to hear on CPACE. The insurance companies, we reached out to them. At this point, they're planning to provide written testimony, and we'll get that in from them. And if we still have additional questions, folks are welcome to either say, hey, we want them to come in, or reach out to them individually. But we did reach out to the insurance companies, and right now they're prepping a letter. We can take it from there on that.
So that's on 202 or 2?
CPACE.
So C.
I'm back on CPACE. Yeah. So who do we need to hear from on CPACE? So insurance companies, that was
Well, the insurance companies was on S202.
It's on 202.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Talked about
yes, it's correct. It's on 202.
that.
Sorry.
Where was ISO New England coming in?
Friday on 202, but they have written testimony.
I just didn't see what time you were coming in.
Quarter to 2.
Oh,
Yeah, I am trying
I
to move
gotta
our,
turn the page over.
yeah, I am trying to move our Friday afternoon testimony to Friday morning, just FYI. So, okay, sorry. So back to CPACE.
I'm conveniently badly done. Good Friday.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, it is Good Friday. Yeah. So back to CPACE, we're gonna hear from Senator Chittenden's intern, who's gonna walk us through a report she did on CPACE in other states. We're gonna reach out to Michael Yackey at the CPACE Alliance to get his opinion on what, like maybe 2 other states we could hear from about how they're doing it. And I'm looking for the closest parallel to Vermont, right? So like, for example, it probably wouldn't be relevant to us for us to hear from like California or something. We want to hear from other states that have small towns that are doing this. And especially about the third-party administrator question. Then Dara had wondered if we could hear from the Climate Action Office on like that definition of resilience. So, you know, we want to put in a definition of resilience and maybe hear how resilience would be relevant. Chris had mentioned that there is a definition in the resilience implementation strategy. So anyway, we reached out to Jane. So I'm trying to like close the loop on what are we missing here? So maybe a couple other states, definition of resilience, and Senator Chittenden's intern on her kind of report. And then trying to wrap up 202. Anyway, so just know I'm hearing and trying to get everybody booked.
So we're gonna be able to take the week or 2 off. Last week in May, to come back and fight
Well-
for education, right?
Yeah, then the other thing I wanted to ask Alex to do. If you have time, Alex, it would be great if you could monitor our Senate counterparts and keep us posted on our bills that are over there.
Sure.
So that would be natural. Senate Natural. They seem to be actively taking up data centers. They're taking up 718. They're taking up single plant, and they're taking up greenhouse gas emissions. So those are like on the agenda. So Alex, if you could just be like watching natural resources and give us little updates on what they're doing over there with our bills. The other committee is Senate Finance. We should be keeping an eye on our bills that they're taking up over there.
Do you think they're taking up the disconnections?
Yeah.
That's for witnesses.
Yeah, okay. So just maybe, Alex, if you could do that for us, that'd be really awesome. And then institutions, we should just keep an eye on them, but I don't think they have any of our bills or doing any of our bills. So it's probably going to be finance and SNR. All right, we're going to go off, I think.